Hi guys, welcome to Bible Breakdown. We're doing 2 Samuel chapter 18. So David, he was getting his men ready for battle. He had a lot of men, thousands, hundreds of men. And he had Joab, he had Abishai, and he had Ittai be the commanders over 3 different groups. So as David is sending these men out, he tells them, I must also march out with you. And the men are pleading with him to stay where he's at because they say that he's equivalent to 10,000 of them and that the people of Israel would rather have him than his troops. Which that is pretty true. And David, he complies. He says, do whatever you think is right. And he stays by the city gates. So as all the men are marching out, he goes and talks to Joab, Abishai, and Ittai, and he tells them, treat the young man Absalom gently for my sake. As we know, Absalom is David's son, so I'm sure he still has a heart. Like, although his son is trying to turn on him, he's like, chill on my man. But apparently everybody that was like the troops of David, his army, they all heard David say this to the commanders. So David's army, they're going out to battle. They go on the field, and the battle happened in the forest of Ephraim. And David's men, as we know, they did what they had to do, and they defeated Israel. It says they killed 20,000 people. And then Verse 8 says, the battle spread over the entire area, and that day the forest claimed more people than the sword. If you could see that visual, that is a lot of people. So, boom. Absalom, he's riding on a mule in the forest, and the people of David see him. He sees the people of David, but he gets caught into a branch, like his hair gets stuck in the branches. The mule keeps running, and Absalom is hanging from a tree. So just picture Absalom hanging in the forest by his hair from a branch. What a sight to see. So one of the soldiers from David's army sees him, and they say to Joab, like, I see Absalom hanging from an oak tree. So Joab's like, you saw him and you didn't kill him? Like, what are you doing? And he says, I would have given you 10 silver pieces and a belt. Another translation mentions that it's a warrior belt, so I guess that just signifies, like, you did something good in the battle. So the man's like, I don't care if it was 1,000 pieces of silver. I was not going to kill the king's son because he's the king's son. And I heard what he said to you and the other commanders. Then verse 13 says, if I had jeopardized my own life and nothing is hidden from the king, you would have abandoned me. So he's like, you're fake anyways. Even if I did do it, y'all would have ratted me out and left me alone. So Joab, he pays him no mind. He says to him, I'm not going to waste time with you. And he takes 3 spears and he puts it through Absalom's body. But they see that he's still alive hanging from the tree. So the other troops surround him and they kill him. So Joab blows the horn to signify the other troops that the pursuit is over. And then verse 17, it says, they took Absalom, threw him in a large pit in the forest, and raised up a huge mound of stones over him. And then they all fled and went to their tents. It mentions how when Absalom was alive, he named a pillar after himself and called it Absalom's monument because he knew that he wasn't going to have like kids to carry on his legacy. So Ahimaaz, which is Zadok's son, he says, please let me run and tell the king the good news that the Lord has vindicated him by freeing him from his enemies. And Joab tells him, like, he's not the one that's going to deliver the news, and he sends somebody else to do it. So he sends a Cushite to give the news to David, and Ahimaaz asked Joab if he could just run after the man, just to run. And Joab's like, why do you want to run when you're not going to get a reward? And Ahimaaz is like, because I want to run. So Joab he says, so run. So then he starts running after the man. And it says that he outran him. So David's sitting between the city gates. He has these watchmen and they're watching out and they see Ahimaaz, but they don't know that it's him yet. They see him running and he reports to David, oh, there's a man running. So David says if he's by himself, then he has good news. Then they see another man running behind the first man and he's like, oh, there's a second one. And he's like, he probably has good news too. So the watchman confirms that it's Ahimaaz that was the first person that was running. And David says to him, this is a good man. He comes with good news. So Ahimaaz, he bows down. He pays his homage. He says, all is well. And then he says, blessed be the Lord your God. He delivered up the men who rebelled against my lord the king. So he told them that they won the battle. And then David asked about Absalom. And he says, is he all right? Ahimaaz basically says like he has no idea because Joab didn't really confirm or deny. And then David tells him to wait aside because he knows that the second man's coming. So the second man comes in and he says that he has good news, and he tells David, "The Lord has vindicated you today by freeing you from all who has rise against you." And David asks him about Absalom. He says, "Is he all right?" And the man replies, "I wish that the enemies of my lord the king, along with all who rise up against you with evil intent, would become like the young man." And David, he gets up, he goes to his room, and he starts crying. And he says out loud, "My son Absalom, my son Absalom, if only I had died instead of you, Absalom, my son, my son." So that's David's reaction, hearing that his son is dead. And that is the end of chapter 18. That's all I have for y'all. I love y'all. God loves y'all more. Have a great day.